Shoujo, slice of life, and rom-com anime aren't really my cup of chocolate milk, but I've never been one to avoid good storytelling just because of the genre. I can enjoy any of these categories as long as the story or characters are compelling. In the mid to late 2000s, the rom-com trend was in full swing with hit titles like Honey and Clover, Toradora, Ouran High School Host Club, and my personal favorite, Nana. Shoujo and slice of life are never going to die, but they don't produce those hugely popular anime anymore. But one of the best I've seen to come out in recent memory is Monthly Girls Nozaki-kun. When I first watched this show back in 2014, I thought it was pretty good, but I've also gone back and rewatched older shows I used to like, and I don't know what I used to see in some of them now. Nozaki, however, was even better the second time around. The show is about a self-conscious high school junior named Chiyo who has a crush on her dim-witted though good-hearted classmate named Nozaki. When she goes to confess her feelings for him, he misunderstands the interaction and gives her his autograph, which makes her realize he's actually one of her favorite manga writers using a pen name. In order to be close to him, Chiyo becomes his assistant and over time learns all about Nozaki and the pressures of producing manga. Being that she's head over heels and way too into fiction, Chiyo fantasizes about most of their interactions in terms of some sort of dramatic animation that could potentially be a turning point in their relationship. However, Nozaki is completely clueless to Chiyo's feelings for him and is generally having his own delusion from the mindset of whatever character he's working on at the time. This is the kind of gimmick that could easily get boring after a couple of episodes if this were a regular shoujo anime, but it's mostly a parody of the rom-com genre and these dramatic moments are played up for laughs. It knows what is supposed to happen in one of these kinds of shows and takes every chance it gets to flip it on its head. Going back to that first scene where Chiyo confesses, this is classic shoujo setup. Strong silent type staring out of the window strongly and silently as the cute girl nervously comes up to him all to confess her feelings. And then Nozaki pulls the wild card on her and throws the viewer's expectation. This sets the tone for which will ultimately turn out to be the formula for the rest of the series. Each episode has a pretty generic setup until something out of left field happens and the writers run with it. It's also delivered in a dual episode format with each half of every episode containing entirely separate plots. The only other anime that comes to mind with this format is Psyche K, and uncoincidentally I rate both of these slice of life comedy parodies as some of the funniest anime I've ever seen. Both are just overflowing with ideas, which makes the dual episode format count for so much. In case you didn't know, slice of life refers to a setting with normally a bunch of high school kids and no specific plot in general, it's just them going about their daily lives. Now with this genre not having so much in the way of plot, what makes any slice of life truly compelling are its characters. The genius of the show's cast is that they are all generic characters who are either exaggeratedly generic and therefore self-aware, or they are twisted in some way that makes their copy and paste archetype fresh. My favorite of all these is Nozaki's friend and background artist Mikoshiba. His archetype is the cocky and obnoxious ladies' man character. He actually looks and acts a lot like Kurama from Kami-sama Kiss, except he's actually faking that confidence and is deeply, deeply insecure.
Please don't be embarrassed, Miko-rin. You're making me feel all uncomfortable over here.
I am not embarrassed. Will you please stop calling me that? Jeez, what is your problem?
He loves the attention he gets from the girls, but he always tries too hard to say something cool and ends up putting his foot in his mouth. There's one whole episode dedicated to him playing a visual novel where he can live out the high school life he's too bashful to actually have himself. Mikoshiba is friends with a girl named Kashima, whose nickname is the Crown Prince due to her popularity. She's a yaoi transplant into a typical prince character. The mere fact that she's a girl shakes the whole thing up again. Whether she's charming the girls and guys at her school, goofing around with Mikoshiba, or getting her ass beat at drama club, she's just a joy to watch in every scene she's in. Between her and Mikoshiba, they steal almost all of the scenes together. I personally like these two even more than Chiyo and Nozaki. Of course, that's not to say I didn't like them. I liked everyone. Nobody feels like they don't belong, and they all prove their worth by the end of it. A lot of rom-com humor revolves around dumb shit like completely unrealistic male-female interactions that are extra lazy because there are so many realistic and relatable scenarios that have occurred since the beginning of time that they could use to actually give humor. The one I hate the most is where the guy accidentally walks in on the girl and she beats the hell out of him in the name of tsundere comedy. I fucking hate that shit. Nozaki is funny because it flips the expected outcomes into something unpredictable, or the characters play their type up in such an over-the-top fashion. Well, that's part of it anyway. Unlike any other style of TV, movie, books, or any media there is, there's no real formula for comedy. We all have funny friends that would never make it as comedians. You either have it or you don't, and Nozaki-kun got all of it. And out of nowhere too. The show is a bright spot from the middling production company Doga Kobo, who produced 11 Eyes in 2009. I guess the stars really aligned for them because I don't think you can do a rom-com countdown and not have this one on the list. Hold up. Is that LeBron? If I'm nitpicking, I'd say a weakness is there's virtually no character development and each member of the cast kinda just exists within the confines of their gimmick. But in this case, that's okay. Nozaki is setting out to be something very specific. If it were a traditional romance anime, this would be a big problem. But they're parroting those other character types and it's actually what makes it work. They tried to extend themselves a little bit in the very last episode and get a little more serious about the Chiyo and Nozaki's will they, won't they dance, and I think they're slightly worse for the wear because of it. Ouran High School Host Club mastered the comedy romance balancing act. It is definitely the superior show, and that's fine. Doga Kobo wasn't supposed to even make the playoffs, let alone win the championship. Nozaki-kun is one of my favorite rom-coms ever and hasn't lost any punch in the 6 years it's been out. Every character leaves something memorable, and if I ever get around to a rom-com slice of life countdown, this one's definitely gonna make the list.
I love you, but we really gotta go right now.
Fine, it was fun while it lasted.